So the 10th anniversary has been finally revealed with tons of amazing content, which before I begin, I will say congrats on the DBD for 10 years. It's pretty amazing to see how this game has gone on. And even though I wasn't around when it first came out, I got to say, though, it's awesome to be part of this community. And while I've been in and out of the game due to many mixed feelings about how the game has been lately, I still find this game always enjoyable and come back to it every now and then, of course, whether on stream or my own time. And obviously, I still love this game, still despite its many problems and issues. But nevertheless, what good thing about it is, though, is that there are much more bigger news happening, of course, as we progress forward and forward through the 10th anniversary. And there was a lot just announced around tonight. I'm actually recording this right now just after the event just finished up in the live stream. And there was a lot they have discussed during the entirety of the event. And I want to kind of go through a couple of things, as well as I'll discuss a few things that were happening more earlier with the announcement of the Jason Voorhees announcement, which I was planning to get a video out and probably my thoughts on the PTB, but I kind of got lost track on it a little bit right now. So I kind of want to get my thoughts on it right now and also my plans for the future. I really want to be consistent with my DVD content again as I can, but I just been so absent pretty much with it due to me being slowed down from the game. But I really do want to encourage myself to get back into it more. So that is what I want to do at this very moment. And I want to go through it all. So let's get right into it. I'm going to tell you everything about my thoughts on the recent announcement of the upcoming Jason and Universe chapter, as well as also everything announced during the 10th anniversary live stream. So if you're here to talk about it, you come in the right place. Let's get right into it. Before we begin, of course, the 10th anniversary stuff, allow me to first go over real quickly just all the stuff that I want to discuss about Jason. As you probably already know it was recently announced after a long, and I feel like an unnecessary long stream with some pretty cool features still, some pretty cool scenes that were demonstrating in this like cabin like area in the forest, which still was pretty cool, although I wouldn't want to wait like hours into the night and all the way until early morning just to find out what the reveal is. So it's a good thing I fell asleep and then woke up to find out what the news is and see the reveal of course, the next upcoming big licensed chapter, and that being Jason. More specifically, the Jason universe, which shows that unfortunately, due to, of course, the licensing issues that happened in that lawsuit, and unfortunately affected what we were expecting with the license. So, but that shouldn't still be a disappointment. And with the PTB already, I actually enjoyed quite a lot about him. And I want to kind of give my thoughts on everything as I explain all the stuff that they had, of course, in the PTB, and kind of get my first thoughts about it at the time as we get close to the very end. And take note though, a lot of stuff is being updated over time with this stuff, obviously. So we'll kind of get right into it. So let me go and discuss real quick all you need to know about my thoughts on Jason. And then after that, we'll get right into, obviously, the 10th anniversary stuff. So let's get right to it. First, to get out of the way, I am a huge fan of Jason's look still. I think he is really cool, honestly. I think he's one of my most, very well-designed killers for a license. I think they did a good job on him so far. And he's personally one of my personal favorites so far on his, design and look, honestly. I also really like his skins. There are many really cool skins, obviously, that he's going to be releasing, of course, on release. One of my personal favorite ones is this one right here with the cool, just all that moss on him, and he's holding the shovel, and you can see his left arm basically is nothing but like a bone, stuff like that, with some glove, typical gardening gloves. It's personally one of my favorite skins on him, and I really like him a lot for that design, and it's definitely one of my personal favorite skins I might be getting when he does release very soon, of course. So it's gonna be really cool just get a chance to hop on that and just get that skin on. As for his power and perks, after testing it for some time, I had a great time playing around with him a lot. The power basically is called Omnipresent Evil, and basically what it does, whenever you activate the power button, it will allow you to basically turn invisible with the Slasher. That's his killer name, by the way, of course, the Slasher. It grants him undetectable permanently while in this mode and increases movement speed. And while this is happening, fog will start appearing around, and of course will start causing survivors where you won't be able to see them, but you can still see footprints they leave behind whenever they are just walking or running. And the only way they can stop it is if they're crouching, of course. So unless they're crouching, you will still be able to see them when they are walking around and about, of course. And then anytime while in the ability, you could then go around by pallets, breakable walls, windows. Even if the walls are broken, you can literally go near them and activate an ability called Jump Scare, which allows you to basically, you know, wall in the ability, if you happen to be nearby a wall, breakable wall, or pallet, you'll break it, or you'll stand right by and cause yourself to slash around it, or you'll ball a window, and it will cause it whenever you jump scare. It will allow you to basically reappear, end the mode, and then any survivor within that radius will like get react with Killer Instinct for like a few seconds, giving you a chance to find them and catch them off guard, which is pretty fun to do, honestly. It's one of my favorite unique parts about it that makes him quite a scary killer, of course. And when you reappear, you then get a small bit of haste for 25 seconds. But one most insane things about his power is that he has a special ability called Throwing Spikes, which you can get replenished if you waste one on the hooks and other scrap piles you can find around the map. And if you pick them up, you can use this throwing spike, and if you throw it at them, it will impale them, and if they don't take it out, they will basically, if they get injured with it, it will make it easy for you to basically impale them so easily more to a wall, or basically whenever you reach, of course, the final hook state of them, you can mori them, which is probably one of the most brutal moris I've seen in any killer so far in DBD, in my opinion. I think it's pretty brutal the way he does it, in both on the ground and even also, you know, in penetrating them onto a wall. So it's pretty crazy how they work, especially when they affect, like, you know, make them lose one health space when you, of course, hit them with any type of spike, and also cause deep wound on them. So it adds to a lot of that feeling right there. And not to mention, they become broken until they can remove the spike on them. Then there is his perks. He's got 3 perks, of course, like any new killer or survivor that gets in the DBD. He has what is Hex Scared to Death, Rampage, and Silent Shadow. Hex Scared to Death makes it where whenever you hook 3 different survivors, a random totem will be triggered of its effect of Hex Scared to Death. And basically, anytime you do a basic break action on a pallet during a chase, causes all survivors within 13 meters to scream and gain 13% hinder stats back for 3 seconds. And the effect persists until the Hex totem is either blessed or cleansed by a survivor, disabling it for the remainder of the trial. I find this perk actually a pretty interesting perk to use sometimes, as I always felt like, to me, that would be pretty cool to see how the combination goes with chases to help you out with that. Although I find this maybe a little bit hard to say, at least, because frankly, the thing is though, is that it only works if you do a basic break action on a pallet, and there is still plenty of pallets you can expect to use, but if you can manage to at least hook 3 different survivors to get activated is my only concern very much. But I found this perk to be sometimes pretty fun. Rampage, though, I actually quite thought was pretty interesting and fun to use. It makes sure whenever you basic break a pallet or break a wall, you gain up to 13 tokens, and whenever you are blinded or pallet stunned, you are granted a 1% haste stats back for each token this perk has for 13 seconds. And then the perk goes on a cooldown 20 seconds after being blinded or pallet stunned. What makes this perk so crazy to me, and honestly really fun to use a bit, honestly, is the fact that it's permanent. Meaning, anytime you do a basic break action, you gain a token and it's permanent. It will never go away, which means once you get the 13% and you get blinded or pallet stun, you have that one permanently with you for 13 seconds. It will go back, it will stay at the amount based on the, you know, tokens you have. I always found this a really interesting perk right there. That's gonna be pretty crazy for some chases. So I wonder if this would be pretty good for like M1 kills like Ghostface. Silent Shadow is the one I find also pretty interesting. I don't think it's as, you know, really crazy powerful as much right there, though I know for sure that it is going to be changed from at the start of the trial to now requiring to hook a survivor, so at least you get a little bit of a benefit out of it instantly. And that is what the perk does, is makes it where whenever you hook a survivor instead of at the start of the trial, you gain a permanent undetectable for 13 seconds. And after which, if the X gates are ever powered, you are granted undetectable for the rest of the trial. I do find this like actually much more better than what it was in the PTB, because now it's just at the start of the trial. They basically now make it where whenever you hook a survivor, you gain this for 13 seconds. So it's really nice to kind of have a little benefit of this, and I think it's a little more buffed now than ever, honestly. But I don't find this as a very powerful perk to use, but something that undetectable can be really come in handy quite a bit if you want to add a little more sneakiness to many killers whenever you hook the survivor. So it could really come in handy. And not to mention that when exiting the power, you are granted undetectable for the rest of the trial, meaning it's a undetectable stealth endgame perk. So imagine combining this with like Noah and stuff like that. It would lead to some pretty crazy, funny moments right there, and that could be pretty insane to kind of catch people off guard. So I find this actually some pretty fun ideas I can imagine with this, and I think it'll be pretty hilarious to kind of see where it plays out when people use this perk. And overall, I actually really think Jason is a fun addition to DBD, and it's been a long way coming right now, so I'm happy to hear the news, and I'm grateful that Jason's coming to DBD, so I'm very grateful on that. So let me know what your thoughts on it for sure in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts about Jason for sure. Now, one thing that is for certain, though, with also in the game, even though it's not the entirety of the Jason movies from Friday the 13th, it's just the Jason universe, we actually are getting a new survivor, an original survivor for this deal right here, which actually has been revealed during the 10th anniversary, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Let me focus on the perks itself, which I actually got just to try out during my time in the PTB. So the perks that they mentioned included in this one are Wide Open Throttle, Lend a Hand, and Cross Examination. First, Wide Open Throttle. Basically what this perk does, it will make it where whenever you fast vault a pallet, it will trigger the following effects. It will gain you 15% haste for 3 seconds, and the pallet will be immediately reset and be blocked by an entity for 60 seconds, and then this perk goes on a 60-second cooldown. At the time that with this perk, I actually thought this was going to be a broken perk, but honestly realizing it after practicing, it's not as pretty busted, honestly, since most definitely you're not going to get a chance to do this, because since most likely killers will just end up breaking the pallet anyway. And secondly, even if you end up getting a chance very much, it's only going to be for 60 seconds, so you're not going to get this benefit for very long. Now, you could stack this up a little bit fun with like perks like Life, since it does not provide exhaustion on you. So there could be a nice little benefit with that, but I find it's not really busted whatsoever. I think this could be a pretty solid perk to use sometimes. Cross-Examination, though, is a perk that I think a lot of people have been discussing how pretty busted it is, and the fact that Behavior is not going to touch this whatsoever is kind of a concern for me, honestly, for later in Survivor gameplay. Basically, what this perk does makes it where whenever you're inside the killer's terror radius, the killer will leave behind light marks that you can see, basically like little lit footprints you'll see on the ground. And whenever you see these light marks, they last for 10 seconds, and if you stand on the light marks, you gain an elusive status effect that lingers for 5 seconds whenever you happen to leave within the light mark area as it disappears, or once you leave yourself. As you know, elusive makes it where you're basically obscured to the killer for every reason. Or reading, they can't hear you, they can't see your blood stains, scratch marks, or reading, none of that stuff. When I tested this out with a friend and tested out with them, it was easy to get around and pass up by the killer sometimes. Even passing me up too, and I couldn't even notice it. So if you get caught off guard with that, it really makes it very confusing as hell. And this perk, I find, is going to be a very questionable stealth perk that could be really used heavily and could be a problem a lot, which is why I feel like it's something that probably should be, adjusted a bit more. I feel like maybe, in my opinion, though, maybe the light mark shouldn't last for 10 seconds. Maybe make it last for like, instead 5 seconds or whatever. Make it like last for brief moments and then linger on. Maybe instead for 5 seconds, maybe let it linger on for 3 seconds, or just keep it 5 seconds. I feel like that could be a little bit better, but that's only my question about this perk, honestly. And it's going to be very interesting to see where it does in gameplay overall over time once it gets, into the full game itself. But I still find this perk needs to be a little bit adjusted. Last but not least is Lend a Hand, which is a new healing perk, which at the time I actually thought also was going to be quite busted when I saw what it did. But after testing it out, it's actually not a bad perk to use. And it's honestly not, it's actually quite balanced if you think about it. Basically, what the perk does is whenever you cleanse or bless a totem, this perk will activate, and it makes it where for once per trial per survivor, while healing the survivor, if you activate the ability button, you can permanently give that survivor that you're healing 4 permanent healing charges completely for the remainder of the trial while they're alive. Basically, it just gives them the equivalent of like a brand new part, but instead of 10, it's like 4 charges, and it's for healing. So you can only do this with once per trial per survivor. So that means each survivor who runs this perk can give it to multiple different survivors who haven't gotten it already, except for themselves, and they can all gain a permanent little thing right there once they need to heal each other, of course. which can come in handy quite a bit if you want to keep them alive and well more quickly or heal them very quickly. I'm really kind of grateful this perk is at where it is just 4 charges, because when I saw it, I was like thinking, oh, that's not terrible at all. I think that's a pretty decent amount of healing. I was very concerned about how much permanent charges the survivors were going to get, and honestly 4 is good enough by me. I don't think it needs to go any higher. If it went up maybe like 5, or I would probably be okay still, but if it go up anywhere past that, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc., that would honestly be broken and busted as hell. And I hope for the best they keep it that way, because I think it's a decent healing perk that could be used, especially for the context of it being once per trial per survivor, and kind of acts as like a healing brand new part basically. So I think it's kind of like a mini brand new part with healing. I think that's pretty cool, and I think there's gonna be some pretty good, you know, possibilities with this in the near future. So I have good thoughts and feelings on this, and I think there's gonna be hopefully a potential to see where this may lead for this perk. Overall, I think there's gonna be a lot of exciting plans to look forward to for Jason's release and his build, as well as also this new survivor, which we'll talk in just a moment very soon as we get into the 10th anniversary stuff. But let me know what your thoughts about the Jason chapter. Are you guys excited for it? Let me know. I'm pretty excited for this, and I can't wait to see it come to life, and I'm looking forward to try it out for myself in the near future, of course. So I'll definitely make sure to get my hands on it and definitely test it out. So stay tuned. Now it's time to get to the very big juicy details. So I'll be going through all the big announcements and important info that was announced during the 10th anniversary live stream. So there's quite a few many big announcements to discuss, and I'll kind of get my thoughts on it and show you and let you guys know what it is, and I'll show you guys on screen like I should be doing, of course, and let you guys know what we expect, of course, obviously. So I'll try to go through everything as I possibly can. So let's get right into it. First things to kick things off, we'll start off is with the Dead by Daylight movie Q&A and info. Oh, this thread right here from Ruthlessly's helped kind of transcribe all the questions that were answered during the stream, obviously discussed about the movie. So a question first was, why Dead by Daylight? And the answer was from them was that it's a really fun and great challenge to work on, something people are so passionate about. So we make a movie that is for the fans. We are making it for you guys, they say. Another question was asked, why do you think Blumhouse was the right home? They said, and with FNAF, you took the game and made it a cultural movie for the entire world. For Dead by Daylight, that is the credentials. There is no other studio you want to be working on this film. Then they obviously then revealed the director for the movie, one named Theodore Palsen, which I've never really heard of the guy pretty much, although I've checked about them. Apparently they're a film director that has worked on a 2015 short called Brothers, a 2019 TV series called The Valhalla Murders, and then a 2024, I believe, some type of horror type film called The Damned. So he's got a little bit of work on them, of course, although I do not know much about him, so I don't know how I'll feel about this. I think maybe some people will have some better, possibilities, but anything's possible. We'll see where Theodore Palsen will go. But basically, the question was, what was your first experience with DBD? And they said, I first discovered DBD in the pandemic. I would get sucked in, feel the dread coming from the screen. I was constantly waiting for something horrible to happen, they said. Then there was a question that mentions, can you give an inkling what it looks like through your lens? We're getting to some basically details of what they're about to explain, what they feel like, and also what they can share. They said, capturing the feeling of playing DBD, the main thing is capturing the feeling of looking over your shoulders, the dread, the horror that stays with you after it's over. And then the one question of the bunch right there that was very finishing up was that, what we want to know the details. What can you share? They said, we'll take places in the world like the Macmillan Estate in Greenville, and you can see some of your favorite faces, recent and older fans' favorites. It will begin shooting in 2027. Now, for my own feeling, when I look at these questions right here, I'm looking forward to it, because I kind of want to hope the best that with Blumhouse in charge, that I think it's going to be really good. And not to mention, there's been a lot of hype with many horror-related stuff, from internet horror and gaming horror, kind of getting the front seat of situations right now. I mean, we just recently had a successful depiction movie of the Backrooms from Kane and Parsons, aka King Pixels, which was pretty good, and I had a great time watching that. And Five Nights at Freddy's has also been doing pretty good too for the fans under Blumhouse with the first and second movies. And so far, I think they've been doing pretty good. And I kind of want to hope the best to see that, it could lead to a very good possibility that we might see out of it. That will be pretty exciting to look forward to. So I want to sit here and just say that I kind of want to give some excitement for it, and hope the best they'll actually do really good. But until then, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, again, it does not begin shooting until 2027. So we got the rest of 2026 and we got until they get to next year before they start actually shooting the film. So it'll be pretty interesting to see where that plays out a bit. It'll be interesting to see where that plays out, but only time will tell. We'll have to wait and see, and we will, kind of looking forward to see what happens. So let me know what your thoughts about that, of course. Now, let me go and mention the new Survivor. Like I said, there is a new Survivor that's going to be included in this chapter for Jason. And that will be later on released, I think, they said, I think during the 25th. So obviously, it will be a little bit later on after Jason releases on the 16th. But still, nevertheless, it's still going to be pretty cool, to see a new Survivor get in action right there. And this guy is named Shane Wigwas, if I pronounce that. Shane Wigwas. And I gotta say, though, I'm pretty excited to see where he plays out more. He's a biker of some sort. So it's gonna be pretty cool to kind of see where he plays out a bit more. And especially with now, after seeing some of the perks that is going to be included with him, I can definitely see where that's going to lead to, seeing possibilities with him. With his theming. And I'm looking forward to see what his skins are going to be like even further. It's going to be pretty cool to see where he plays out. I think this Shane guy is going to be pretty fun to see where he plays out. And, hopefully he'll be a nice, good addition into the mix, especially being the first kind of native heritage style Survivor. And I think he's going to be a very interesting Survivor to see how it plays out with, being the original Survivor for the story of Jason and his universe for DBD's own chapter of it, his own depiction. Speaking of survivors, we're also getting plans of older survivors and characters receiving voice lines sometime next year. So we're actually planning to get that very soon. They told about that they are planning to look back at older survivors they had before and kind of get them back to voice lines, like how, The Walking Dead and all the other characters like Resident Evil and stuff like that get their own voice lines. So older survivors, we know older characters will get their own voice lines as well. So it's gonna be awesome to hear a little more cool diversity with that. I'm looking forward to see where that kind of plays out more with, hearing characters speak a little more. It's gonna be pretty cool. Next is probably one of my most exciting news from this that we got just to hear from the devs, that I believe the voices of the fans finally got them to change their mind on things, and that is Frank Stone now becoming a chapter. As you know, the casting of Frank Stone was a new DBD type of, narrative experience and type game with its own story taking place in the DBD universe that people received mixed quite a bit, but there were plenty of people who did enjoy it a bit, and we're pretty excited when it was announced that we would probably see a chapter for it, in the future. However, though, when it was announced I think a year or so ago, it was announced that he was going to be a skin for chapter at the time, which left a lot of fans, including myself, pretty disappointed of the news, because for someone to be their own unique character, it felt kind of disappointing they wanted to go down that path and say, let's make just a skin out of it, even though it's literally their own, their own story within DBD. So it's kind of very interesting to see why they went with that. But luckily, it sounds like to me that the voices were heard, and now they are, of course, deciding to, revert that decision, and now we're going to be seeing that now coming as an actual chapter. And so far, we haven't got any details of it much, but we can definitely say that, Frank Stone is going to be, of course, included there as his own killer, and who knows what the survivors will be. I mean, obviously, it could be Madison, it could be Linda, anything is possible to see where that plays out, but it's great to know the fact that they changed their mind on this and now bringing in the casting of Frank Stone, just another DBD type story within the universe, finally coming into DBD as its own chapter and not just some skin like they were announced before. I'm grateful that they changed their mind on this, and I'm looking forward to this for sure, and hope that Frank Stone will be a pretty awesome kill to play as. So I'm pretty excited. Speaking of also something new, they also throw in was a new map that will be coming, a new original map, which is something that's been plenty requested by fans, and also it's quite unique and out of place for DBD, and that is the mall, which they've described as some cool new type of idea, especially since the fact that you mostly would expect to be in a mall for, vibing and chilling, and it's a more peaceful location. Now it's being used as a more terrifying trial. And not to mention, they also mentioned that it has a sense of liminality, which kind of got me a little stoked about that, because obviously with the backrooms, that involves liminal spaces. But let's not get my hopes up if we'll ever see backrooms in DBD anytime soon right now. But the fact that we're getting a mall map. It sounds pretty cool. We got some pretty cool screenshots from it, some cool concept art. So I think it's pretty nice to see the idea what I come up with, and I'm looking forward to see what I come up with more with this mall idea, with the lore and how it plays. I actually jokingly thought about it that you can take elevators to escape, like how there's the portals in the Borjo. That would be pretty cool to see where that plays out a bit more, but only time will tell. We'll see what that map leads to. Now, of course, is the 10th anniversary event, which, as you know, unfortunately, we're not doing the masquerade anymore. That's unfortunately ended, but they are replacing it with something better or something different, and that is called the Black Banquet, which will run on the 25th of June to July 16th. And the event will have, of course, plenty of things to look forward to, especially its own more cult-like dinner-style skins, which will be given to 3 survivors, Dwight, Kate, and Claudette, and as well to 4 survivors, the Trapper, the Legion, the Oni, and the Doctor. So you will see the skins right there go on screen, and you will see they all look really amazing, of course. And that is honestly really cool to see. And so far, the banquet, the event as a whole, is currently still in rotation, and it might not be in final release. But so far, basically, the concept is that there will be 2 main tables that you get to go around the map, along with small carts where you can grab food items and bring those to the main tables and receive team buffs, apparently. So instead of now the typical, invitations, which will give you basically, of course, those small buffs that you get separately for yourself as a survivor or killer. You will get this now, which will give a team buff basically in some way for you for your team and as survivors, or just for the killer itself. So there's definitely gonna be some pretty cool ideas. I'm pretty excited for the skins though. The skins look really impressive. I think the more bigger ones I'm pretty excited mostly is both the Doctor, and I also enjoyed Dwight's skin. I think those are my picks, honestly. They both look really amazing, and I'm pretty excited to see, where the skins kind of lean to more down the line. So I'm pretty excited about that. Speaking of skins, we also got many, of course, other skins to look forward to. Obviously, we have a new Iron Maiden Eddie skin, which will be given to the Huntress. That'd be pretty cool. We also got some more community outfits and upcoming collection outfits, such as these 2 skins for Fun Ming and the Knight, which look pretty cool. I like Fun Ming's little hint of the star and purplish colors, and the Knight is my most favorite of that bunch because I love the nice, cool metal armor, that long red hair, especially along with also these roses, which is pretty interesting right there. It's kind of giving me like Elden Ring vibes, honestly. Then there's a upcoming collections called the Sun Flesh, which will be given skins for Tori Kane and the Wraith, which kind of have this more kind of old ancient Egyptian style clothing, basically, which all look really cool to me if you ask me. This desert themed skin, I love the Wraiths, honestly. It looks really impressive. But that's not all, though. We actually got some big licensed skins coming up right now. They're also adding some more skins for 2 existing IPs, that being the Silent Hill series and also the Walking Dead series. They're going to be adding a legendary skin, which allows you to have Glenn from Walking Dead to be included, so that's pretty cool. But also recently announcing that they also mentioned and Negan will be also planned to come around very soon in 2027. They didn't show off Negan, they only show off Glenn, but Negan will be arriving in DBD soon. And for Silent Hill, they're going to be adding for Cheryl Mason, a legendary skin that makes her into Hinako from Silent Hill F, and the popular Silent Hill Nurse, which will be a skin for the Spirit. Now for the more upcoming surprising licensed one. They announced 2 upcoming licensed ones right here, which are going to be just, their own other licensed IPs, but they're coming in as just a collection of skins mostly, and not as like their own chapter, of course. And these being first is Diablo 4. They do plan on hopefully adding more Diablo related stuff in the near future, but Diablo will be also joining the fog. And they didn't show off too many skins right now for Diablo 4 or any of Diablo stuff right now, but they did show off one being for Lilith, which is for the artist, which looks pretty impressive right there. I actually recently got gifted Diablo 4 by a supporter of my channel, and I do plan on streaming in the future, so maybe stay tuned for that. I might have to get my own first thoughts on Diablo. And a surprising one that was pretty shocking, Scooby-Doo. I'm not joking. They're literally adding Scooby-Doo, which honestly to me is my most favorite pick of this announcement because I love Scooby-Doo so much. I did not think that we were going to get Scooby fucking do. Like, that is crazy. And they didn't announce much. Unfortunately, which is fair because they got to surprise him. But they did show one skin, and it was a Scooby-Doo type onesie for Dwight, which is one of the most best skins I've seen. I love it, which I could see this makes sense in some way because obviously, you know, it's going to be kind of weird seeing Scooby just running around all the place. So I can see them just adding a skin for one of them in some way like that. That kind of just makes like a onesie or whatever. I do hope for the best that at least with this skin pack, it will maybe make some of the killers like the Knight look like you know, the Knight that the game mystery game encounter in the actual show and even like the movies, for example. And I'm hoping at least that some of these skins are, at least in my opinion, not just simple like costumes for the other survivors, but also maybe possibly legendary skins that turn them into actually the mystery game itself, and maybe possibly depictions of some voice actors we know from the series, or maybe some popular voice actors come in voicing them for this DVD appearance or something like that. I know Scooby-Doo is a pretty children's type show, which is pretty insane to see, but Scooby-Doo, I think, has had some darker depictions in some moments, and I think there was a popular comic that came out a few years back that was basically a more darker tone of Scooby, but we'll see what happens. So I'm at least hoping that just in case, one legendary skin, at least like how we got Geralt from Rivia for like that as one legendary skin for the survivor. I'm hoping at least it's like Shaggy at least. Because if you're going to include Scooby with Dwight, I just want Shaggy to be in there and just one of the voice actors for Shaggy to be voicing that character, and just imagine reacting to, you know, Zoinks, why do you dress up like Scoob? Are you a fan? Or just something like that, you know? It would be pretty hilarious to see the depiction like that. But again, these are only just announced. There's not much to show off right now, but hey, we got a lot of skins to look forward to. This Black Bank one is looking pretty promising. A new Eddie skin, some new community and collection skins, two new skins for The Walking Dead and for Silent Hill F or Silent Hill in general, and then now two new sets evolving for IPs, including Scooby-Doo and obviously Diablo 4. So that is honestly pretty amazing. And I'm pretty happy and excited to see such amazing news being brought out of this. Let me know what your thoughts are about these, you know, upcoming skins and these plans. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you guys have any ideas what you want to see happen, so let me know. Of course, I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Of course, I'm definitely putting Scooby-Doo as my pick. Obviously, I'm looking forward when this does release. One last thing to mention, of course, also speaking of skins, as well as, you know, kind of a little mention about another small collab. Forgot to mention this real quick, is there also was a collab with Ice Nine Kills. I think it's this popular metal band or something like that, whatever. So it's pretty cool. I never really heard about them. They did like a music video on it, which is all right, I guess. I'm not a crazy bit of fan music. So some of the survivors will get their own like hoodies and, you know, sweaters for this. And obviously people like the Legion will be getting their own skins for this that were themed during the event. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, where this could be, you know, play out, of course. So I'm very interested to see where it plays out. I wasn't too much of a fan of it. I am a huge rock and roll metal fan, but hey, we'll see what happens. Now for some of the more juicier updates and changes that are actually happening right now, including the two new game modes that we'll be expecting. And before we get to the final one the most, so obviously if you've seen during the thing, we're actually getting quite a bit of a rehaul of basically the mouse survivors, their facial relay works, dynamic weather, and updates to the map's overall aesthetic, which is honestly really amazing. If you've seen some of the aesthetic of it right now, it looks really beautiful on them, what they look like, the survivors, and as well as also what the dynamic weather looks like. I am pretty excited to see this. Of course, as they mentioned, this is kind of a way to say that we do not plan to make like a sequel to DBD. We want to make sure this game is for the long run, and obviously the way the game looks, it's just really beautiful, and it does get me pretty excited to see where this lead to down the line with these updates. Like they're doing these like facial updates, they're making the whole maps look beautiful, they're making even the survivors and even possibly killers look more better. Honestly, it is pretty exciting to me that we are seeing all this happen. It just really brings me very much excitement for this. Hopefully my PC can handle all this stuff though, but honestly, it's just really amazing to see the game start to grow and become more better and looking than ever. And that gives me more excited, especially hopefully I can get back to more content like this more, because I think the game is just going to be even more nicer seeing this happen, of course. So hopefully the game runs well for a lot of PC users and other people on console, and it would be pretty cool to see where that kind of plays out more. Also speaking, that's interesting, by the way, is sandbox money they mentioned, by the way. Sandbox money. If you don't know, next year they're going to add this ability to allow people with rules, apparently, of course, limitations of rules, obviously, but ability to allow you to create new maps, modes, and etc. like that, which means they're adding a way to kind of allow you to create your own ideas for the community and go expanding beyond, which to me sounds pretty exciting, honestly. Although, obviously, like, one thing that does bug me a bit is I think this is gonna this is gonna be available for all platforms, since obviously with some when it involves modding and stuff like that, typically that's usually a PC thing, not a console thing. But I hope the best of this add a little more creativity, that it could be available for everyone, including console players, so that console people can join in on this too, if not creating it as well. I really hope for the best that this is something that we plan, because it sounds potentially pretty cool. That kind of intrigued me about it, because the idea of giving people the ability to create their own, maps, be able to create their own modes and stuff like that, it sounds like a pretty fun idea that I and many others can create, that can add for some pretty cool ideas, some tournament ideas, some fun challenges. I could see the possibility with that expanding even more, and not to mention the possibility of different ideas and modes that it could be expanded upon, even with custom games. I feel like this is a great idea and could really do so much more for the near future. So I'm very excited to see what this plays out. It will be available next year in 2027. So I hope the best they do pretty good. Now, of course, finally mentioned real quick is the 2 modes. They're adding 2 new modes, and I'm actually pretty interested by both of them. And I think they will be pretty cool. First to get out of the way real quick is a new zombie mode, which they showed off on their kind of early kind of alpha stage mode, which is why the models look, if you see this video, the models don't look really, so they don't look like they're exactly from the game right now. They just look like they're just still, in early stages mode. But basically the mode, what they explain is that it's basically kind of like a focus on, instead of gen wargame, it's you just surviving these zombies, creating vaccines to then take care of the zombies and clear them all out, basically in order to, basically finish the mission right there. While the killer's main goal is to, of course, try to get you infected, basically. So, and you basically have to create these syringes. You got to, of course, take care of these, like, other related stuff to kind of make these syringes as survivor. And if you get hit by a zombie while a survivor, you will become zombified yourself, and they are going to probably attack their own, teammates. So I really do think it's going to be a pretty interesting mode to see what it plays out as you take out the zombies with the serum and watch out for the killer. So interesting gameplay mechanics with this, and hopefully this will lead into some more possibilities, for this mode to kind of expand upon. So I'm hoping at least that maybe this will lead to, hey, let's, kind of keep going and going and going, and maybe possibly see this mode, do more ideas like this. So I'm very much looking forward to see maybe if this becomes, more expanded upon with more ideas. But one mode that got me pretty excited the most, the one that got me really excited, is the 1v1 best out of 3 mode. You hop on 1v1 with your peeps, and there's no perks, no items, and it's just skill. You trying to best out of 3, last as long as you can, or as the killer, try to take out the survivor as quick as you can, and just try to survive as much as possible with nothing to back you up at all. You're just 1v1ing, typical stuff like that, which could really add some pretty cool, fun ideas with this. I definitely want to do some 1v1s with my friends, especially with some of my pizza party guests on stream. So, hey, if you guys got DBD, hop on. Let's do some 1v1s. This will actually could be pretty fun, honestly. I think this would be really, really good to do. So, and it could add some pretty cool, fun tournaments too. So, I'm pretty excited for that as well. Now, of course, obviously, here's the roadmap right now, right here. Everything we know so far, very much. But there's just one more surprise, of course, and that is the next big chapter that's coming out afterwards of Jason. And obviously, it's something that is going to be pretty exciting, of course, for anyone who's a big fan of this series right there. And that is Damien and Leon's The Terrifiers series, which is going to feature, of course, Art the Clown as a killer. Now, I personally haven't yet watched this series yet. I have not watched Terrifier yet personally, but I gotta see for myself soon. But one thing for certain though is I think I'm pretty happy to see where this kind of leads to, because I think Terrifier is a good addition to DBD. I think the concept of Art the Clown has shown to be a potentially good killer, can have some pretty cool vibes, and I think this will be a fun addition to see where it plays out for the rest of the game. And I'm gonna mention some pretty cool skins you can wear very much, and like a blighted cool skin or something like that, or some other cool variation, especially a more bloody sense for his prestige skin. I think there's some really good possibilities out of this that's going to lead to some very fun ideas. Let me know what your thoughts, of course. I was hoping when I heard all the clown hints, it was going to be like, you know, like the balloon during like the 10th anniversary announcement that was happening in the Summer Game Pass would be like Pennywise. And I actually would still prefer Pennywise or any other horror IP like Slenderman, Outlast, or Dead Space, or Evil Within. But nevertheless, though, it's still nice to see it announced, and congrats to Terrifier getting to DBD. I know there's a lot of fans who've been looking forward to this, and I'm grateful that it is there, so I'm happy. And I am definitely looking forward to the PTB for this to test out Art the Clown. I'm looking forward to see what his power and perks are going to be, so here, my friend, here. I'm very excited for that, and, you know, I'm looking forward to that for sure. So great news right there. Okay, with that, we have reached the end of our little discussion of the 10th anniversary stuff. What do you guys think about it? Are you guys very excited for all these big hype and news? Let me know what your big highlight is. Personally, for me, I think it's just the Scooby-Doo one for me, and probably the cool visual updates a little bit there, and probably a little mix of the mall map. I think it's gonna be pretty cool possibilities for that, because it leads me down to, well, Scooby-Doo being one of my favorite cartoons I used to watch as a kid, so I'm looking forward to see what possibilities they do for that. The mall map with the mention of liminality gives me vibes of, you know, the back rooms, which I'm hoping maybe we'll put into something like that. Maybe if they can get the movie in the future, that'll be pretty dope, but we'll see. That's going to be a long time, probably, at least. And not only that, the visual thing is something I think most people can agree is probably one of the best things they've mentioned, because the game definitely needs a visual upgrade for the looks of survivors and killers, the map world, to give it more of a more fearful aesthetic design and make them look really realistic and cool. So I'm grateful for this news, and I think a lot of these guys deserve all the visuals they need. All this news does make me super happy, and I do want to try to get some videos out in the future, of course. I just been pulled back because of my mixed feelings about DBD, and I've been so slowed down with it a lot, so I just want to get myself encouraged, and I don't care, honestly, what happens. I just want to get myself encouraged as possible for this, so it's nice for me to make this video to talk about my thoughts about this, because it does get me very excited as a fan of DBD too. So hopefully this will be great news for the game and will lead to some more better things for the future, so that the game can keep going the long haul, especially hopefully maybe another 5-10 years maybe. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, comment below, and tell me your thoughts about everything about Jason and the 10th anniversary stuff. Subscribe if you want to show your support here at the Pizza Party. You can check out all my stuff in the link down below in the description if you want to check out all my stuff, like my Discord, my socials, and come check me out live here, besides on YouTube and also on Twitch and Kick. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. I'm your host, Game Pizza Boy, host of the Pizza Party, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.